literally think this guy is a girl. Like I don't know what he had done to make him look like literally like a female. But it's sad, it is. It's really sad that it's hard to tell, is this a woman or a dude? Like, you don't know. And he said, so do you condone what he's doing? And I'm like, I don't care if you're a Republican, if you're a Democrat, if you're putting on woman face, I'm not gonna condone your lifestyle.
Okay, guys, we got Hannah back on the show today. We are at Student Action Summit, and you're a student, right?
I am a student. It's crazy being here. I haven't been here because they didn't do it, I guess last year. I think they did it in 2022, maybe 2023. So it's been a while. Last time I was here, I think I was like 14 or 15. So it's incredible to see all these young people here.
Yeah.
Rising up and speaking for truth. I mean, Charlie Kirk is doing an incredible job with this movement, and it's impressive to see.
I was telling a guest yesterday, I wish I had something like this when I was a student, because I was so misguided, so lost, didn't have access to good information.
Yeah, and it's interesting. As I watch your podcast, and you see like this shift among young people, especially, and you can even see it here, like from the past conferences and events that they've had for Turning Point events. I think young people are getting even more like radically conservative. And sometimes it can be kind of concerning. I don't know if you've seen like some of the stuff on X.
Far right stuff.
Yeah. Like there's some things it's like, all right, we got to take a step back. We got to become a little bit more rational and logical on some of our talking points. But I think young people as a whole, this is a good thing. You know, it's easier to tame a wild horse than raise a dead one.
Right.
So I think it's an encouraging thing to see when you have a generation of young people that are pushing back against the narrative. I mean, obviously, you've got the small group of people in New York, the Young Socialists for America, which I'd say is probably the Young Socialist against America. It's almost like an oxymoron to call yourself a Young Socialist for America. But you've got them, you know, obviously in New York City protesting for Zohran Mamdani. But here, you know, in Florida and most states, these young people are pushing back, starting Turning Point USA chapters, Young Women for America chapters, all of these youth organizations at their college campuses. And I was just talking to your producer, and he's like, these kids here are ambitious. I mean, they're like 22 years old. They're getting married. They're having families. They're getting involved in politics. They're showing up to their school board meetings. And that's what it's going to take to turn back this country to what our founding fathers intended it to be. So it's encouraging, definitely. Very
encouraging. I was at Tucker's speech last night, and I might have been one of the oldest ones in the area I was sitting in. And I was like, wow, this is impressive. Like, people this young care.
That is insane. I can't wait to see the crowd, because I've only met with a few people that I've known so far. I just literally got here. As soon as I walked in.
There was at least 1,000.
That's insane.
Yeah, it was nuts.
Because past conferences, most of it has been, I mean, you've got like a couple like groups of young people, but most of it was like 40, 50 and up. So I definitely think it's getting younger and younger. Then people are bringing their kids, and then they're bringing their grandkids, and they're telling their friends about it. Because, I mean, Turning Point USA, Charlie Kirk, he does an incredible job of making it very educational, but also very fun and uplifting. And I think that's what young people want. Like, they don't want to sit down at like a CPAC type thing. Like, I love CPAC, I love what they're doing. I think it's awesome hosting these speakers on stage. But in order to get the young people there, you've got to have younger speakers like Anna Paul Luna, you know, an incredible representative in Congress. I mean, who are some other young people? Matt Gaetz. I think Matt Gaetz is speaking this week.
Yeah.
But all of these people are younger, and they're appealing to the younger audiences. Yeah, Jack Posobiec, Riley Gaines, Brett Cooper, all of these younger influencers in the movement that are appealing to these young people. And I think that's really why Charlie Kirk at Turning Point has been so successful.
Yeah, it's needed. I mean, Charlie influenced the young vote by at least 5-10%, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, 100%. What he did with the college debates and going viral every day, it was a good strategy.
Well, I mean, and you even see before the election, like how many kids were wearing no MAGA, like how many kids were wearing MAGA hats? Like very few before the election. I saw a poll, I think it was 50% of young people lied about who they voted for because of the manipulation, the fear mongering, the name calling that the left likes to pull on their fellow peers. Yeah. I mean, I could understand it. You know, I went to public school when I was in kindergarten. And I even remember when I was in kindergarten, I brought church invitations to my classroom, and they sent me to the principal's office for inviting my fellow classmates to my church, because it was an infringement upon the other classmates' religious liberty, right?
Wow.
Which is wild, because we left England to get away from a state-sponsored religion. We left England to get away from state-sponsored persecution. And here we are in 2025, where kids are being sent to the principal's office for specifically inviting their classmates to a Christian church. Because if they invite them to a mosque, if they invite them to, you know, a Buddhist temple, like they're going to be allowed to invite them. It's just because the left, the Democratic Party, is so opposed to biblical principles and Christian values. And I think it's interesting, kind of getting on a little bit of a rampage here, but you've got like the Zohran Mamdanis, you've got like the Gavin Newsoms and the Chris Van Hollens in Congress, and all these representatives who will push back against President Trump having a prayer breakfast and saying that's an infringement upon their separation of church and state, which isn't mentioned in any of our founding documents. What Thomas Jefferson meant with that was to protect the church from state influence. And here we are where the state in 2020 and the federal government in 2020 was saying that churches are less important than liquor stores, bars, and strip clubs. So that is an infringement upon the church and religious liberty.
Right.
So it's interesting to see how far we've gotten. And I'm excited to see this youth movement because I think we could pass legislation. We can have a new president in office, but we're going to have to see a culture shift.
Yeah.
And right now, I think we're seeing one among the young people. I think we got to keep going. We can't stop. I think we got to get a little lazy. We get a little lazy sometimes, the conservative movement. And I kind of see that right now, even in the midterms with all of this Epstein stuff. And Pam Bondi, obviously who I believe is not qualified for that position. I think she should be fired or let go. Or I actually think the right thing for her to do would be to step down. That would be the honorable thing for her to do is just say, you know what? I messed up. I don't think I'm qualified for this position. I want someone who is fully qualified and ready to serve as Attorney General of the United States of America to do this. I'm going to go ahead and step down. That would be that would save herself. That would totally everybody would come out, respect her. It would be incredible. But you look at the Epstein stuff, and I think there's, like we were talking about earlier, people aren't finding the middle ground. Like they're not finding some sort of middle area to meet in.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just going from like one extreme to like young socialists against America, as I say, to I guess what they're now calling the woke right, where they're wanting to kick everyone out who isn't a Christian, which obviously is not religious liberty in this country.
All right, guys, Sean Kelly here, host of the Digital Social Hour podcast. Just filmed 33 amazing episodes at Student Action Summit. Shout out to Code Health, sponsor of these episodes, but also I took them before filming each day. Felt amazing. Just filmed 20 episodes straight, and I'm not even tired, honestly. So I would say they're very unique. It's going to be the future of health and medicine. Code Health has been awesome.
Feel the drop and go code yourself.
So it's interesting to see like the shifts, but it's very, very interesting. Like one extreme to the next.
Yeah, it is. Well done. Principal's office in kindergarten. That's impressive.
Sent to the principal's.
Yeah, well done. I was first grade. I thought I was the youngest to ever pull it off, but kindergarten is impressive.
Yeah, and it's crazy because it's like you'd think being sent to the principal's office, you had to do something like pretty egregious to your teacher. And they would like put me in different classrooms. I remember one specific time where Barack Obama was running in his second term, and they were campaigning, and they came to our classroom with these iPads, and they said, since the election is coming up, if you could vote, who would you vote for? These are 5-year-olds.
Wow.
Kindergartners. And I remember thinking to myself, because I don't remember having the conversations as much with my parents. Maybe I heard conversations about Barack Obama. I mean, I was like 5.
Yeah.
And his opponent, but we never really got into the heavy details of it. And I remember asking my teacher, I said, I don't know who to vote for. Who would you vote for? She's like, we would recommend that you would click Barack Obama.
Really?
It's like, this is insane. Because not only is this, they are propagating a certain candidate in a classroom, a kindergarten classroom, but this is in the conservative state of Tennessee. I mean, this isn't in like Rhode Island or Vermont or Massachusetts. I mean, this is Tennessee, like the Bible Belt, right? Where I was sent to the principal's office for inviting my classmates to my church that I went to. I wasn't sent to the principal's office for this, but literally being indoctrinated to vote for Barack Obama as a 5-year-old if I had the choice. So I mean it's wild to a lot of people how we got to the point where now we have like in schools, why we're having to fight to get obscene material out of our public libraries and kindergarten, middle, and high school libraries. And I don't think it's any coincidence when it started with just indoctrinating kids on who to vote for and indoctrinating kids on what seemed as very small, little, like, it's not that big of a deal, leading to now where they're literally telling kids, if you feel like the wrong gender, if you feel like you've been born in the wrong body, we have the resources. We have they're calling it the clinic or the school to clinic pipeline in many states, which President Trump thankfully is pushing back against this, but it's evading all parental rights, all parental authority, and literally taking the kid to a clinic to get gender reaffirming care, which is not affirming, because if it was gender affirming care, if someone came to their doctor and was like, I'm confused on my gender, they said, yeah, you've got male genitalia, you're a dude, you'll always be a dude. Same thing with a female. So all of the verbiage is confusing. You love to confuse the verbiage of these things. But it starts with that. And this is why we're seeing the things we're seeing, is because 20, 30 years ago, people weren't asking questions. And you look at like the older generations, I guess it's like boomers, Gen X, what's above millennial? I don't know, like the 40, 50, 60-year-olds, they really didn't ask questions. Like you're getting these headlines, you're getting these newspapers, all of this legislation being put in place. Even in the Ronald Reagan area, you've got like the Vaccine Compensation Act, where they're literally putting a vaccine tax, like a tax on the on your vaccine that you're getting, and it goes to vaccine court. So people who were injured by the vaccine, basically when they got that vaccine, they were literally paying a tax just in case they were to be injured to go to their court fees.
Wow.
So it's insane. Like even things like that Ronald Reagan, who's kind of been like this great American president, who I'm sure did amazing things. Obviously wasn't alive when he was president, but I've listened to some of his speeches, and he's had some very powerful quotes. But I think the problem is that people aren't asking questions, and they're finally getting to the point post-COVID, especially, where they're like, all right, this is enough. We got to ask questions.
I still can't believe people trust the vaccine stuff.
Yeah.
Like that blows my mind. Like I'll be at the sauna at Lifetime Gym, and like it'll come up in conversation and people get all 4 vaccines and they don't even question it still.
Yeah.
This was like a few months ago.
And it's not even like the COVID vaccine. It's like even the vaccines that you get when you have a child in a hospital. They give you like all of these vaccines. I think they get like, maybe I could be totally wrong. Someone can fact check me on this, but it's like 8 to 12 before they're like 5 years old, maybe more.
Jeez.
More than that. And so as soon as your baby's born in a hospital, if you consent to it, and if you don't consent to it, they like browbeat you for hours because you're, not compassionate to your child. You're not loving your child because it can get some kind of disease.
I'm telling them as soon as I get there that I'm not doing it.
Yeah, you're not doing it. Like there is no reason. And the way that they present it as, I mean, even I don't know if you need to have Dr. Brian Ardis. Do you know Dr. Brian Ardis?
Brian Ardis, no.
Oh, your clips will go viral. You should.
Okay.
Well, I'll set you up with him after.
Cool.
But I've had him on my show a couple times, and he breaks down like why he thinks nicotine is not addictive. It's not like nicotine itself that isn't addictive. It's the substances that are in these nicotine pouches that are actually causing these addictions in people, like the chemicals. He wears like a nicotine patch on himself. Like I said, I think it's like 7-8 milligrams of nicotine on his arm to prevent diseases. Anyways, there's like all this propaganda. He even breaks down how like the flu vaccine causes early onset of hearing loss. And who are getting most of these flu vaccines? Like 60, 70-year-olds. When does like most major hearing loss start? Like soon after these people are getting these flu vaccines. So you should have him on. He's incredible. But it's like all these things that people aren't asking. It's like, if I'm still getting the flu after getting the flu vaccine, like clearly it's not preventing the virus. And someone the other day told me they got the COVID-19 vaccine and they were so grateful, even though they were sicker than they've ever thought they had been after getting the COVID-19 vaccine and then getting COVID after they got the vaccine. They're like, it could have been worse because I could have died because I didn't have the vaccines. It's like all this propaganda that even conservatives are like adopting into, and love President Trump, but in the beginning, and I really think it was due to Anthony Fauci and a lot of these so-called medical professionals that were around him and surrounding him, that led him to believe like this was it. This was the real deal for the American people, for the world, that was going to cure it. And I think now, obviously, the Trump administration is waking up, realizing that it isn't. Yeah. And him bringing in RFK Jr. has been an incredible win. Getting rid of fluoride in our water, like working on that. And people, when they take the chemical abortion pill, it's causing a lot of infertility in women because now you're drinking the water. So there's all these chemicals. I mean, it's insane. Like there's just such a rabbit hole, and not to mention the SSRIs that these young kids are getting on a daily basis. Dr. Brian Ardis actually did a study. Every single school shooting in the last 52 years, every single one of those school shooters was on some type of SSRI or anti-anxiety medication.
No way.
So it's like once you start pulling back the layers, like people say this is a mental illness. It's more than a mental illness. These people are on these drugs that are messing with their psyche. They're messing with their brain waves and causing them to have violent, homicidal, or suicidal behavior. And it's no coincidence that there's such a spike, such an increase in this kind of behavior among young people, especially.
Could be a form of mind control too.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it all goes together. I mean, the Prozac was like, they teamed up with the CIA to form and to formulate this Prozac.
Wow. I didn't know that.
I watched this the commercial and the way that and this is why I'm glad that RFK Jr. is doing this, is also getting rid of all of these commercials.
I hope you guys are enjoying the show. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps the show a lot with the algorithm. Thank you. Yeah.
These ads where they make Ozempic look like some beautiful, nice, cheery pill. It's not. It paralyzes your vagus nerve to where you can't digest food. It sits in your stomach until you throw it up, or it eventually makes its way out.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's not healthy. These people are dropping weight because it's literally paralyzing your vagus nerve.
Jeez.
So it's all these things, you know, that they're not going to tell you.
Yeah, that's awful.
But you have to do your own research.
Yeah, you have to. Do you think birth control should be banned?
Birth control too, because not only is there a population, I mean, look at it, birth control. They're literally trying to control the birth of the population.
Right.
I mean, the birth rate has dropped tremendously in the last 10, 15 years, especially over the last 5 years. People aren't having children anymore.
Mm-hmm.
They're waiting until, 35, 40 years old to even begin having children. And then the first 20, 30 years of their, teenage to adult life, they were on birth control or other types of drugs that affect your fertility. Not just that, they're doing research that it is affecting the way that a woman's brain, like where the way that she thinks. And I haven't done all of the research into the brain and how she's thinking, but now she's like attracted to different types of men. And it's weird. It's crazy. But for me, it's like, you go back to the history. I mean, Margaret Sanger said that eugenics is like a house built upon the sand without birth control. So they put this pill in place in the early 1900s, specifically with the goal. They coined the term in 1912, 1914, I believe it was, 1912. With the intent to control the population, specifically to get rid of what they deemed as the unfit of the population, the Black community. So nobody's talking about this. You don't hear any mainstream media outlet talking about these things. They might talk about the scientific aspect of it and why it's not healthy. But like, what about the historical aspect? Like, why was this even brought up in the first place?
Yeah. I was on Xanax in college. That shit messed me up.
Yeah, my dad was on Prozac when he was like 9, 10 years old. And he said he had never thought about the things. Like, he never acted upon anything, but he said he vividly remembered at 19 years old having some of the most insane, very violent, like just thoughts come across his mind.
At 9 years old?
Like,
jeez.
He grew up in a very rough home and his story is, is his own, but very rough home. And they put him on Prozac to help with some of the issues that he was having from a broken family that he was in. But he said he vividly remembers being on that pill. They took it off of him, I think, like 3-4 months after being on Prozac. But it was damaging. I mean, he said he was never thinking about such violent thoughts until he was on Prozac. And I hear that every day. I mean, people committing suicide because they get on these SSRIs or anti-anxiety medication, and they were never suicidal before, never violent before.
Ironic.
Yeah. So there's a lot of things I don't think people, and that's the thing too. It's like, one of my favorite quotes is from Thomas Jefferson: "The best defense against tyranny is a well-informed society." And the reason we're here is obviously because we've created a society, I believe, of weak men and emotional women. I mean, 76% of women voted for the Democratic Party in 2020. 58% of men voted for the Republican Party. Why? Because women tend to base their decisions off of emotions. So we've got to be more logical about our decisions. Like, the Democratic Party clearly does not care about women's rights. They clearly do not care about protecting women and the next generation. But we are also here because, again, we haven't asked enough questions and we have not been informed about the things that we are signing ourselves up for.
Yeah. And
we're all guilty of it. And you don't have to be some, mass expert to understand what's happening, but just do some research. I mean, look at the trends. Look at what happened under the Soviet Union. Look at what happened under Mao's Cultural Revolution, the similarities between what we even saw during COVID-19 with these tyrannical dictators.
Yeah.
So it's wild, but
nuts.
Ask questions.
You got to ask. At this, which university are you at?
I actually just graduated with my bachelor's on July 4th from Liberty University.
Wow, that was fast.
So,
holy crap, well done.
Well, this is why I always say people need to homeschool their kids. Any of your listeners, homeschool your kids. People are like, what should I do? I don't really know if I want to homeschool my kids. Homeschool them. Like, public schools, there's no saving them. Everything is messed up. I mean, ideology upon ideology, critical race theory, telling your kid that they're oppressed if they're a certain color, and then they're oppressing someone else if they're white. Homeschool your kids. That's it. Like, there is no better option than homeschooling your kids. And there's charter schools, there's private schools. But if you want your kid to be truly just have that propeller of success. I mean, I raced motocross competitively when I was 13 and 14. I lived at a training facility during COVID, 2020 and 21. And I would not have been able to do that if I weren't homeschooled. We were training on the bike 5 hours a day, off the bike 3 hours a day that we do some school, but you wouldn't be able to do that if you were homeschooled. So mean, there's just so many things. Your kids can pursue their passions, not be indoctrinated, and actually learn some very valuable skills for their life.
I love that. How long were you homeschooled for?
I only went to kindergarten. After my parents saw that.
After you went to the principal's office?
After I went to the principal's, I was always on red, specifically because I asked questions. I always
They don't like
questions.
that.
Yeah, they do not like questions in public schools.
No. That's why I didn't ask him, to be honest, because I was scared. I was scared to. But now, if I would to go back and do it again, I would ask,
Yeah.
But I was super shy, super nervous, because as soon as you asked a question, they would just...
I'll beat you.
Yeah. You didn't feel good about asking questions.
Yeah.
And a lot of kids probably relate to that.
Yeah. I mean, it's psychological warfare. I mean, even going into college right now, you've got the University of Pennsylvania coming out last week saying they're going to comply with President Trump's executive order, no men and women's sports, which obviously we know that was only because about $175 million is on the line of federal funding. That's the only reason why they said they were going to apologize to the female athletes, which it wasn't even an apology because they sent letters to Paula Scanlon, who was forced to undress with William Thomas, the dude who thought he was a woman. 18 times per week, she had to undress and watch this dude in her locker room undress, not to mention the other swimmers, the female swimmers that were on this team that also were forced. But the psychological tactics, the warfare that they used against these young girls, the same thing that they did in your kindergarten, where they forced you basically to make you live in fear to where you couldn't ask questions.
Yeah.
And now they're telling them, if you dare to speak up about what's happening in our country, if you dare to question the narrative, or that William Thomas is on the swim team, you're going to lose opportunities, you're going to lose careers, you're going to lose scholarships. But if you want to get help, we've got these gender affirming classes. I don't know, some of them are called like how to get away from your heteronormativity. Which is like,
the hell is that?
Because it's like basically that you're so normal with heterosexuals. Wow. That's like the principle of it. Because do you know Olivia Krulchek? She got a 0 on a paper on feminism for saying the word biological female on her paper.
No way.
She's probably actually here. Maybe you could get an interview with her. But yeah, in I believe it was 2022, 2023, she received a 0 on her paper for saying the word biological female. And ironically, the paper was on feminism and the achievements of women, but you can't say the word biological female because the professor said not only was it like oppressive to the men who think they're women, obviously they didn't say it like that, but they're men who are putting on this caricature of women, of womanhood. And they said that it showed signs of heteronormativity, which, like you said, like what in the world does that mean?
No one knows what that means.
And it's like all these terms, cisgender. No, there's just normal and there's abnormal. It's very simple. Like you're either normal or you're not.
Fact.
Like there's no in between. There's no cisgender. I'm not cisgender. I'm a female. You're a dude. Like it's so simple. Stop confusing these terms. And that's why we call it the cult of confusion. Because they want you to be running around confused all day. Is that a man? Is that a woman? I don't know. Like, how can we tell?
Yeah.
It's insane. Like you should never, I mean, that's when you know that your society has rejected any like level of common sense moral standards when you are walking down the road and you can't even tell if someone is a male or female.
Yeah. And the left dies on that hill. They love the Trump stuff for some reason. I don't know why.
Well, you know, it's interesting. You had Adam Mockler on your show.
Yeah.
I had Adam Mockler on my show like a year and a half ago. And he was like, there's this guy in the conservative movement. I don't even want to call him a conservative, but more of a Republican, I guess you could say, who his name's Blair White.
Yeah.
And like, you would literally think this guy is a girl. Like I don't know what he had done to make him look like literally like a female. But it's sad. It is. It's really sad that it's hard to tell. Is this a woman or a dude? Like, you don't know. And he said, so do you condone what he's doing? And I'm like, I don't care if you're a Republican, if you're a Democrat, if you're putting on woman face, what Bruce Jenner and all of these people are doing. Like, I'm not going to condone your lifestyle. I don't care what you've got beside your name, an R or a D. Like, it's identity fraud. You know, someone asked me the other day, I was talking to Tom Renz, he's a lawyer, and he goes, Hannah, I agree with what you say. I agree that we got to have a cultural shift in our country to get back to where we understand that this is wrong for men to walk into women's bathrooms, but we're not going to be able to change it legally because people can do whatever they want, right? You have the freedom to do so. And I'm like, no, actually, this is identity fraud. When you are putting on a caricature of a woman and dressing up as a woman, like that's identity fraud. Same thing goes for a man. So yeah, we actually can make this illegal in the United States of America, but we have too many cowardly Republicans that aren't willing to stand up and say like, yeah, this is identity fraud. Hey, Tim McBride in Congress, if you can't even lead yourself, you shouldn't be able to lead a country. I mean, you've got a dude in Congress while we were on the brink of World War III in December of 2024, who is complaining because he can't go into the women's bathroom at Capitol Hill.
Crazy.
It's insanity, absolute insanity. So we've got to have a revival in this country. More young people stand up, but we also need the older generation, because the amount of older people that I talk to, and I'm not saying they're not old, they have the older generations. They're 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 years old. And the amount of people within those generations that I talk to that have no idea what's happening in our country, would claim to be a feminist any day of the week, but have no idea what feminism actually is. So we got to wake up all generations, and we've got to have a revival.
Have you debated a feminist yet?
I've invited several on the show. I actually invited, what's that girl's name? She's not a feminist, but her name is Pearl. I can't remember.
Pearl Davis.
Yeah, Pearl Davis. So is her name Hannah?
Oh, is it? I didn't know that.
I see Hannah and then I see Pearl.
Okay, that might be her real name. Pearl's probably
Okay, is it Hannah? All right, Hannah. Pearl, Hannah, whatever her name is.
She's not a feminist,
She's not a feminist, but I wanted to have her on because I agree with a lot of things that she says. And then some things maybe she might take too far. I can't really think of too many of them right now, so I'm not going to say specifics, but I'm sure there's some things that she has said that I'm like, maybe that's a little bit too far. But overall, she says some pretty valid things about the conservative movement and how we've got to get rid of feminism. Feminism has been truly the greatest threat to the family unit between one man and one woman. I mean, pitting men and women against one another from the get-go. And people will say, oh, well, what about the suffrage movement, right? What about the 19th Amendment? And I'm not saying we should repeal the 19th. I'm not saying we should do that because you can't. You're not going to, even if you try to create a campaign that's like repeal the 19th, it's not going to happen. So it's unrealistic.
People trying to do that right now.
Yeah, they're trying, but it's a waste of time. Like we've got other things to fight right now. But factually, every single election since the 19th Amendment was put in place, if women weren't participating in that election, every
Republican.
Conservative.
Right.
Yeah, we would have been.
Which is crazy, right?
So it's like, we can say that women should have the right to vote, but then like, this is what the data says.
Right.
So I'm not saying either way is right because we're not going to repeal the 19th. At the end of the day, again, women think with their emotions more. And I think the thing that people don't realize is that it wasn't just women who couldn't vote before the 19th Amendment was put in place. If you didn't own land, if you didn't pay taxes and contribute to society, you couldn't participate in the election. Couldn't participate in society. Like you couldn't participate in the decisions that were being made for your country. And that's like the logical thing to do. If you aren't contributing to our society, like you shouldn't be able to participate in the voting process, regardless of whether or not you're male or female. I think that would be ideal. Instead of saying we should repeal the 19th. I don't even remember. Oh yeah, debating a feminist. Yeah, no, I'd love to. I would love to have even on like Bonnie Blue. That would be so interesting to talk about.
I could line up either Bonnie or, Naima Trout.
No, but is that a female?
She's the one that debated Charlie with the nose ring, the black girl. Yeah, I'll set one up for you.
Yeah, I would love to have them on because I think a lot of people don't realize that the feminist movement has led to that. Then people say, oh, that's a different segment. No, it's like, that is literally why the sexual revolution started. And maybe it wasn't that far. Maybe it wasn't that extreme to where they're trying to sleep with 1,000 men in 24 hours. But it's the idea of saying that men and women are equal. Women can do anything a man can do. There's no difference between us. It's just a social construct. It is no coincidence that we went from that to saying men and women are equal when we're not. We're equal in value. We're not equal in our role. It's common sense. And the girls' sports issue, ironically, is literally proving that men and women are different. So it's like all of this is crumbling. It's just proving that feminism does not work at its core. Yeah.
And I don't know why that's a controversial take to say we're different.
Yeah, I don't know either. And it's funny. I literally was at a conservative event about a year ago, and they interviewed some of the people that were there. And I was the only interview that didn't get posted because I said this one thing. They said, how does it make you feel that the party that used to be for women's rights is no longer fighting for them? I said, the problem is that the Democratic Party and the left has never been for women's rights.
Wow.
The feminist movement has nothing to do with fighting for women. Because what has it led to? The National Organization for Women, the largest feminist organization today, one of their main priorities is to create a worldwide legalization of prostitution.
Wow.
Explain to me how that's empowering women. One of their other main goals is obviously to legalize abortion in all 50 states.
Yeah.
To get rid of all abortion restrictions. What is abortion? It's telling a woman that in order for you to be successful, in order for you to live a good life, you should murder the life that was conceived inside of you. Well, after a woman has an abortion, she's over 155% more likely to struggle with suicidal behavior. What is pro-woman about that? There's nothing pro-woman. And now you're seeing with the chemical abortion pill where they're literally doing at-home abortions.
Jeez.
They're sending it through telehealth.
I didn't know that was a thing.
And it's interesting too, like Roe versus Wade. I truly believe it's a sign of God's judgment in our country that we had to get to a point where we have to overturn Roe v. Wade to get back to the states. And we'll take a win for a win. But, even with that, a year after Roe versus Wade was overturned in 2024, the statistics of abortion was actually higher than during Roe versus Wade when it was put in place because of the chemical abortion pill. So now we have a new issue to take care of.
So you could just get it on the phone now.
Yeah, you could. And young people are getting it.
You could just say you're pregnant.
18 years old. Yeah, if you just look up, and they even have some that aren't, because they have the chemical abortion pill that is approved by the FDA. And then they have some that are like off the market to where anyone, like you can just, without any kind of like appointment, you can just
Holy crap.
It. So it's a very dangerous line to be towing.
Yeah, that is scary.
And I mean, even going back to the health side, like it's going into our water systems and it's affecting people who didn't even get the abortion. So this is a broader issue than even just, obviously, the most basic of killing an innocent life in its mother's womb.
It's nuts. Hannah, where can people watch your show and support you?
The Hannah Faulkner Show on Rumble. My Instagram is Hannah Faulkner 1776, and then my website is Culture of 1776.
Love it. Check her out, guys. Thanks for coming on again.
Thank you so much for having me.